Hello, my name is Charlene Jones, and I will be creating a culmination of a video essay and creative project that seeks to answer the question, where and how is the Blaxploitation genre still alive? To answer this question, I will assess its music, and how we can trace the role and influence of Blaxploitation soundtracks from its creation in the early 70s to today. It is important to note how music is used in Blaxploitation films, and according to Amanda Howell, the scores often amplify already visually exciting images and serve as a cultural reference to the film's setting. These soul/R&B infused soundtracks comment on the social conditions of the 1970s. Howell says that this music drew on African rhythm patterns and contemporary music technology to create a sound. I would like to display pieces of the soundtrack from Coffee that represents this explanation. I will do so to set the foundation for a sequence from Quentin Tarantino's film that references many songs from Coffee's soundtrack. I plan to edit these moments together to show how the original film influences Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown and how both films use the soundtrack to heighten the intensity of movement. This is different from traditional Hollywood scores because this is polyrhythmic and nonlinear and represents the freedom of the protagonist and his or her expressive ability to move about each scene. I'd like to showcase the similarities between Coffee's and Jackie Brown's soundtrack, that even though Jackie Brown was made years after her predecessor, the musical similarities are evident. Both soundtracks embody a distinct sound and feature prominent black artists, and because these soundtracks focus so heavily on rhythm, it allows for visually and audibly stunningly energetic scenes.
I'm not saying what I did was alright. Trying to break out of the ghetto was a day-to-day fight. Being down so long, getting up to
We can trace the influence of Blaxploitation soundtrack within cinema and mainstream music as well, such as gangster rap. According to Dustin Ingalls, they have a similar quality and upbringing to Blaxploitation films. So for the next section, I'd like to compare the soundtrack from Superfly with Currency and NWA. I plan to make clear the comparisons between Blaxploitation soundtracks and gangster rap, specifically how they are used and how they heavily rely on setting to establish the credibility among black audiences. And I hope to place clips from the beginning of Superfly with NWA Straight Outta Compton to show how you can see the cityscapes portrayed in both mediums and how they become staples of Blaxploitation. Both subgenres have a similar upbringing, as they both became prominent through the financial vulnerability of an industry looking to appeal to the black community. And we can see these influences reflected in gangster rap, as both sought a new identity for urban youth based on the issues of that time. This identity was rebellious, strong-willed, and powerful. Both caused controversy among the black community, and many argue that blaxploitation and gangster rap exploited black people and perpetuated harmful stereotypes. But Curtis Mayfield contested that instead, Superfly and films like it are the symptoms of the problem, not the cause. With these sounds and clips in mind, I would like to reference a quote from Nicholas Foster, and this is to emphasize that blaxploitation and gangster rap have a shared sound, not just from the gangster rap samples or influence, but how both marry images and music to create what Foster calls a visible presence.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
With the rise of the blockbuster, Hollywood pulled back funding from blaxploitation films. However, the fall of the genre did not mean its end. I'd like to show some clips of modern blaxploitation movies to show that they are still made, even if they aren't as highly demanded. But it is clear that the reason it continues through other platforms is because of its music. Ed Guerrero even considers it a discursive cultural compost instead of a dead genre, and how the hit songs not only launched the genre but kept it going, i.e. through gangster rap, and we can even see influence in modern films, television, and music. The soundtrack that started it all is from Shaft, the Blaxploitation film that started it all. It is extremely influential in how the soundtrack was used as the foundation for music and Blaxploitation films. I chose to showcase this last because we can see its cultural influence as of this year. I plan to show how this influence expands through music and film and music outside of film as well, such as the popular TV show That's So Raven. Overall, popular culture today can thank the music in Blaxploitation films for its relevance. One can hear a soundtrack and know exactly what movie that's from, whether they loved it or not. That's the power and influence of these soundtracks of music. In fact, as mentioned before, its cultural impact can be seen today. Through this project, I hope to display how the influence of Blaxploitation soundtracks can be traced through movies, music, and popular culture as a whole. Even though it was widely controversial, we can't ignore its impact on the culture and how it influenced the culture to seek after the freedom of movement, a new identity, and the ability to express this through sound. Thank you.